We are recording. All right. So, okay. So I'm going to let people in as they come along. So welcome everyone. Hopefully you can hear me out there. I'm Chris Laverme, and I'm the transition counselor at Greenwich High School. And I'm going to do my best to facilitate this meeting tonight. As I said, we are just so pleased to have 6 schools and 7 speakers presenting. And I think it's going to be an awesome night in terms of information for our parents, some staff members. We have some administrators on the call. And, you know, as I was saying, you know, I have kind of a long commute home. So on my way home tonight, as I was stuck in traffic, I was thinking, I think this is year 12 of doing a panel like this for me. The first several were in person at Greenwich High School during college night. And then I think COVID forced us into a virtual situation, which has worked out extremely well, because we would not be able to fly you all in to have this kind of a panel otherwise. But as I was thinking on the way home, you know, the original panel about 12 years ago, we pretty much had speakers from your traditional college support programs. And it amazed me in my thoughts how much things have changed and how the landscape is changing in terms of opportunities for students with special needs, students with neurodiverse learners, so many more opportunities out there. And I said, this year I changed the game plan a little bit, and we went with what I call our creative programs, which is a little different than the typical panel of, you know, college support programs. So I am really looking forward to hearing each of our speakers. I'm going to introduce each of you, and then we're going to jump right into it. So are we ready to rock and roll, everyone? What I ask from our audience, our parents and staff members, and if there are any students out there, I'm going to go through the presentations, or the panelists will go through presentations. Then I will ask a few targeted questions to our panel. Not every panel member will answer each targeted question. And about the last 10 or 15 minutes, I will open it up to a question and answer with our audience. And all I ask during the question and answer is, you know, try to keep your questions not specific to your individual child, but keep them general, and if you do need to speak to one of our presenters offline or in an email or give them a call, I'm sure they will be more than willing to speak to you privately. But let's try to keep those questions general and informative for our entire audience. So I'm going to get started here. We have from the College Internship Program, the National Enrollment Specialist, Mary Sokolowski. Welcome, Mary. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you. I'm so thrilled to be here.
Okay, and you're joining us from the Berkshires? Are you joining us from the Berkshire?
Our program is in the Berkshires. Yep, in Lee, Massachusetts.
Excellent.
Yep.
We are also fortunate to have Mr. Colin Brady. He's the director of Threshold at Lesley University, admissions and engagement. Colin, welcome.
Thanks so much for having me.
Okay, excellent. We have Stephanie Welch. She is the Vice President of Enrollment Management at Mansfield Hall.
Hi,
welcome.
Everyone. Thank you, Christopher. Thank you all for having me. Excited to
Are
meet
you joining us from Vermont?
Yes. Well, Burlington, Vermont, Madison, Wisconsin, and Eugene, Oregon. Obviously, I can't physically be everywhere, but those are the 3 locations that we have programs in.
Okay, well, welcome. We have 2 representatives from St. Joseph's University in the great city of Philadelphia. We have Allie McNamara, who is going to be, she is the Associate Director of College Support at the Kinney Center for Autism Education and Support. And I think, Allie, you're going to be speaking to the Aspire program.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
Okay. And then we have with you, along at St. Joseph's, Caitlin Martin, who is the PACE program director. And that is Pathways to Authentic College Experiences, AKA PACE. Welcome, Caitlin.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Excellent. And then we're going to go up. 87, way up to Syracuse University. And we have Brianna Schultz, who is the Director of Inclusive U at the Tasoff Center for Inclusion of Higher Education. Welcome, Brianna.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Have any snow up there?
Not yet.
Oh,
Probably soon.
And we also have representing Villanova University, the V United program, the Director of Admissions and Enrollment, Paul Ballantine. Welcome, Paul.
Hi, thank you. Glad to be here.
So, as I said, we're going to jump right into our presentations, and I always like to keep everybody guessing who's going first. So I like just to keep you ready. So you know what I'm going to do? I really believe in like the S curve. So I believe, Paul, I would like you to go first and talk a little bit about, and again, I really would like to limit this to about 5 minutes, everyone. You're going to talk about V United at Villanova University. So welcome, Paul.
Great, thank you. I'm excited to be here. I'm glad to be able to join. We have a lot of students from Villanova that come from the Connecticut area. So we know it's a popular spot for our students. So pleasure to be here. I am thrilled to share information about our V United Scholars Program. It is a 2-year certificate program where students at the end of the 2 years earn a certificate in community and professional development. Our program is really focused in on 3 pillars. Those 3 pillars are academics, student life, and career development, all areas in which we recognize our students and our families have a lot of interest in. Our program starts in the fall, and it runs a typical fall to spring semester. The students are then off for the summer, and then they return for the next fall, their second year, fall and spring, and then the students complete the program in the following spring. So it goes over 2 academic years. Students each year, or each semester, I should say, have an internship. Internships are usually their first semester are offered on campus. And then we take the second semester where students have an internship off campus. Internship categories include hospitality, media and marketing, business, public safety, education, sports and facilities management, performing arts. We have a lot of students that are interested in sports, and a lot of them get to work for the sports teams, which is really fun. The students are really immersed in the campus experience. I think that's one thing that is really exciting about our program. And just some examples I can share. Allie, who is one of our students in our first cohort, she tried out and made the cheerleading team. So Allie was at every men's and women's basketball games. Aiden, who was in our second cohort, he tried out and made the band. So he served in the Villanova band and did basketball and football. And Liv, who was in our third cohort, she wanted to be in a sorority and live Russia sorority. So we were really proud of of how our students really integrate into campus. And I think that's one thing that may set Villanova apart. Sorry, I just lost my spot here. I should mention we have a V United Scholars info session tonight. So all the folks that would normally be doing one of these are actually doing one as we speak. Our students live on campus. They live in St. Mary's Residence Hall, and they have their own floor, their own little wing, I should say, but they're in a residence hall mixed with all other students. In our residence halls, we have living advisors that live with our students that help them kind of transition, get around campus, and they help our students with nutrition and wellness and kind of fitness and health and their social engagement. Tuition for this year, for fall 2025 is $35,575. And that tuition is also the same for the second year. So it's $35,575. When you add on housing and meals, that's an additional roughly $18,000. We don't have the 25-26 rates posted just yet. But if you're looking at kind of budgeting and thinking about the V United Scholars Program, that's our tuition. So it's $35,000, just about $35,000 each year. And then about $18,000 if you're each year for the housing and meals. Our application is open. Yes. I'm sorry, Christopher.
Oh, you're good. Keep going.
Okay. Our application is open for our fall 2025 semester. It typically opens in September, and our application process goes into the early spring semester, and we wrap up usually in March with a visit to campus for our final candidates. So they get to see kind of what a day in the life of the United Scholar is, and then wrapping things up, our accepted students day is roughly sometime in April. So that's our application cycle. Hopefully that stayed within the time limit.
You did, but I have one question for you.
Sure.
Can you give us a little bit of the profile of the student that you're looking for? What would be the typical V United student that you're looking for?
Great question. Our students really range in really a wide range. We try hard to find students that will be able to live independently. And I think we'll talk about this kind of in the question section. That's like a big piece. We want to make sure that the students are able to live independent. We do have our advisors with them. So I would say students who are able to really navigate, they're decent with directions, they can get around campus on their own. It's a holistic approach, I should say. So we have students that really range with their intellectual disabilities. We have students with autism. We have students with Down syndrome. I would say it's a wide range, but students who have the ability to live independently, have an eagerness to learn, and are really interested in pursuing a career after the program.
So, Paul, what is that ratio, though? Sorry,
I'm sorry?
What's the ratio? So how many students do the, I guess, counselors have?
Yeah, good question. So our fall 2024 semester, we brought in 7 students. There's 3 independent living advisors. Our ratio of male to female in that cohort, I think, was 4 to 3, I think. The prior cohort, I got to tell you, is all boys. It's 8 boys. We did not have many female applicants.
Well, welcome to autism. Sorry.
Yes. I understand.
Yeah.
So, we look to take we will take under 10 students. We recognize we need to have the staff and the space.
Yeah.
Space on Villanova's campus is a commodity and is very limited.
Yeah.
So that's generally, we're probably in that like 8 to 10 range for each year.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, Paul, thank you very much. And we will come back to you in a little bit, but we're going to go right to our next speaker. We're going to go right up to upstate New York, to Syracuse University. And Brianna, you're going to talk about the inclusive university at Syracuse.
Great. So I work for Inclusive U at Syracuse University. We are a 4-year program for students with intellectual disability. We're a fully inclusive program. Our students really access everything at the university, much like any other college student. Currently, we have 102 students in our program, and our students attend college classes alongside their peers. They are really able to take any classes on campus and select a major from any of the majors at the university. The difference between our students and the matriculated college students is that our students are receiving a non-credit certificate instead of a traditional bachelor's or associate's degree. By doing this, we can modify the curriculum for students. We can adjust some of the ways that students present materials. So instead of maybe speaking verbally in front of a class, students are recording that presentation and showing it in front of a class. So this certificate is in a specific major that the student chooses, and it's a university certificate. So it's not a special certificate from our program. It really holds the weight of the university degree, except it's a certificate. So along with academics at Syracuse, students are also able to access our internship program. So a student will do 3 years of academics to complete their internship or complete their certificate, and then 1 year of internship to really solidify what they learned in the classroom and build work skills towards a career goal. We want to make sure that students are having the opportunity to make mistakes in their college years, to try and find out what they love before they leave and they find employment in their community. If they move communities, we're really there to support the student throughout their college journey. We also have students accessing over our campus has over 300 clubs and organizations that our students also access. They hold e-board positions or executive board positions. They're members. They're participating regularly in activities on campus. And then we also have students who live in the residence halls. Currently, we have 44 students living in the residence halls. They're accessing 7 different halls on campus, and our students also are placed among other peers in various floors and various halls. We also have supports built into our program. So for academics, students are supported by an academic mentor. So somebody who goes to class with them and supports them in note taking or supports them in communicating to their professor. We have residential mentors who live in proximity of our students in the residence halls and supports them with happy, healthy living environment, making sure they don't have a science experiment floating around in their dorm room, making sure they're able to identify when they need to refill shampoo or go to the grocery store. Our residential mentors are really there to help live among their peers and navigate roommate situations if needed. Our application process is also currently open. We have an early admit deadline of November 15th, which is coming up quite quickly. So students are able to access an early admit portion, or they can access our regular deadline of January 15th. We usually take in about cohorts of 25 to 30 people, and that really depends on the class makeup and the size and the amount of applications we get over the year. We do have an acceptance rate of about 50%, which is more competitive than the actual university itself. So we're really looking for motivation and fit for our students. We want to see that students are motivated to come to college, that they have an idea of what college can get them and how they can contribute to the campus community. We are a large campus, and that's not for all students, so making sure that the student is looking for a large campus. But we do not have any barriers such as a specific diploma or reading level for students to reach. We're really looking to get to know the whole student and make sure they would be a great fit for our community. Hopefully I covered it all.
You covered a lot. That was excellent. Brianna, I have a question for you with Inclusive U. So are you drawing the majority of your students from New York State, or do you have students, other states being represented in your program?
Yes, we have many other states. The tri-state area, we have students from California. We have an international student. So we really draw students from across the country.
Okay, thank you. And we will come back to you as well with some questions in a few minutes. But we're going to head down the coast a bit to Philadelphia once again at St. Joseph's University. And we're going to have 2 speakers from St. Joseph's. And Allie McNamara, do you want to lead off for St. Joseph's and talk a little bit about the Aspire program, and then Caitlin could come in and speak to the PACE program?
Sure, absolutely. So hi, everyone. I'm Allie. I'm the director of the Aspire program. So our program is a program designed for fully matriculated students at St. Joe's. So this is a support program for students who are, working towards bachelor's degrees. Students do need to apply to St. Joe's and be accepted through the regular admissions channel. And then we also have an application for our program that students can complete at separate applications, but we say complete at the same time. So that way we can give you a decision in the same time frame that you are getting the decision from the university, as we know that is typically a big part of the decision to attend St. Joe's for students. This is a program specifically designed for individuals with autism. Obviously, we have a lot of students who have co-occurring, but we do require a diagnosis of autism. So we have about 81 students in the program currently. We continue to grow year over year, which is exciting. Hopefully soon we plateau somewhere. We have a team of 8 full-time staff members. So we have students, they have a case manager, which is one of our full-time staff members. We say it's about, oh, thanks, Chris. Let me go back here. Yes. So I like to have visual information as well, if you also like that. So we do about, it's about 4 to 5 hours a week of contact with the student. One of those hours being case management, another being peer mentoring. So they have a peer mentor, another student at St. Joe's who's there to be a social connection. We have skills classes for students in college success and career readiness. So that's not a 4-credit class. It's a group instruction for their first 2 years. We require 2 hours per week of study hall that continues all throughout their time. They're more than welcome to do more than 2 hours a week, but 2 hours is required. We do a lot of social events for students. So we do large monthly hangouts. That's once a month on a Friday night. Then we have about 3 to 5 groups per week that run. That's another opportunity for students to get together, get to know each other, usually led by peer mentors or graduate assistants. We do a good amount of supported employment. So we have an employment specialist who works with our students to obtain internships. We do some support in those internships depending on the students. Some of those are partnered internships with local companies and organizations. Some are internships that students have found on their own. And we can really tailor support to what the student may need throughout employment. We have a supported residence hall, which is a little bit newer to our program. This is our 3rd year with our supported residence hall. So this is an option for students. Students are welcome to live in any residence hall on campus, but we have a house that holds about 15 students that participate in additional social programming, independent skill building. We have an RA who has specialized training, graduate student support, and some full-time staff support in skill building, but it is just a RA who lives there. So it's not, supported living in the sense of a person assisting with all independent living. Students do have to be able to live independently in the sense of, we're not waking people up in the morning or helping with, kind of the daily living, but more building community and building kind of lifelong skills. So yeah, I don't know. That's kind of our program in a nutshell. We see pretty good success with our students. So we have some employment rates of either employed or in grad school, about 85% within 6 months. So see a lot of success with our students. I have our fees listed there as well as our website. So happy to answer any questions later, but that's my spiel.
Thanks, Sally. Really appreciate it. Why don't we move right on to, let's see, Caitlin, you're going to speak to the PACE program at St. Joe's.
Can you hear me? Perfect. Would it be okay if I share my screen? Thank you.
Sure.
Just because I am also a visual person, so I want you to see what I'm seeing.
There you go.
So I am from the PACE program, which is a certificate program for students with intellectual disabilities at St. Joe's. So whereas the Aspire program is for students with autism who are degree seeking, our program is for students with intellectual disabilities who are certificate seeking. They are age 17 to 25, and they must have exited or graduated high school upon enrollment. So our program has 4 main components: academic, social, employment, and independent living. Everything we do is based on person-centered planning. So that basically means that we meet as a team, everyone in the student circle of support once a semester, and we help identify what goals they want to work on. And then we choose the classes and work-based learning and social activities that they do based on their personal and professional goals. So our program stands apart from some other programs in that we have much, one of our big focuses is academics. So we have 100% inclusive classes. So students take classes with other St. Joe's students, and they take all the same undergraduate GEP requirements as any other student. So we are a liberal arts school, a Jesuit school. So students will take foreign language, English, science, history, theology, you name it, they probably take it. And they can take it for audit or for credit. If they take it for audit, we will take a look at the syllabus and find what objectives are for every student and make it meaningful for our student. So we may make some modifications, like excusing them from some assignments or shortening the assignment length or changing the modality in which they complete the assignment. So they may do a slide deck instead of a written presentation. In addition to the 17 GEP courses, they take core courses, which are elective courses based on their area of interest. So a student who might be interested in education might take education courses. A student who wants to work in business might take a food marketing class or a management class. For each class, they get 1 hour of peer coaching from a peer that's in the class to help them complete their assignments. We have had students take classes for credit, in which case we do not modify the assignment, and we've had a student take 3 classes for credit, which we're really proud of. These are some examples of classes students have taken before. You can see foreign language, math, art. We had a student do field placement at a local school in conjunction with an education course. The social experience is the same as any typical student. They do the basketball games, they do lunch on campus, the gym, they work with social coaches for up to 10 hours a week, and that is making goals for social activities and doing them. So they might go to clubs together, they might go to off-campus trips, like see the Phillies together. For the first 3 years, a student is on campus. Oh, I should have mentioned this. We're a 4-year program. So for the first 3 years, a student is employed on campus with paid work based in their area of interest. So we've had students in the library, offices, museum, working with children, the mailroom, all depends on the student's interest. In their second semester of their senior year, right before they graduate, they do an off-campus paid internship. So their employment goes from 6 hours their freshman year, 8 sophomore, 10 junior, and then 15 to 20 in their senior year. So it really ramps up with employment, with the goal being that when they leave here, they will have full-time employment. This is what peer coaching looks like. Academic is 1 hour per week per course. Social coaching, again, as they're freshmen, they have a lot more social coaching because they're getting used to campus. Employment coaching provides on-the-job support. This is what our students look like in terms of their schedule. As you can see, it's very packed. Students take 3 to 4 courses a semester, but with all of the other extra things they do, they are a full-time student. The last piece, independent living, this is optional, but we have had students live on campus. We've had 4 students so far live on campus. And we do not provide any separate space. So students who want to live on campus in our program need to be able to live in an inclusive dorm with the inclusive supports that are provided to any student. So hopefully that gives you an idea of our program, and happy to answer any questions you have.
Okay, we're gonna hold our questions, and we're gonna let everyone present. But I just want to stop for 1 second here, take a deep breath. I know to our parents and staff members out there, this is a lot of information. We have some really knowledgeable presenters tonight, and please, take in as much as you can, but our presenters, I'm sure, will be available, after the presentations and by email, telephone, etc., in terms of your interest in a specific program. And again, one of the main purposes of this evening is not specifically that maybe your child would be interested in one of these programs, which hopefully they will be, but that just giving you an idea of what's available out there and how the landscape in terms of creative programs for neurodiverse learners has changed over the last 10, 15 years. So with that in mind, first off, I want to give a shout out. I think on our call, we have our director, our program administrator for special education at Greenwich High School. I think Harry Berg is on the call with us. So welcome, Harry. And I also want to give a shout out to our director of school counseling for the Greenwich Public Schools, Michelle Iannello, who I also believe is on the call. So I just wanted to recognize both of them as well as we move forward. So we're gonna go up again to the north, and we're gonna listen to Stephanie Welch talk about Mansfield Hall, which I think is similar, but also a little bit different than some of the programs that we have here. So Stephanie, we are very excited to have you and to hear about Mansfield Hall. It's all yours.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Christopher. Thank you, everybody. And I know it can be a long hour and a half, so I appreciate your time. I'm Stephanie. I work for Mansfield Hall, which if you're to take anything away from this 5 minutes, which I was supposed to start my timer, is we are a super dorm. So we are a college dorm. We are actually not the college, which is different from these lovely presenters that we've heard about. We are the dorm environment that the student lives in. So we support students in our dorm while they go to college at one of the traditional colleges in our local areas. So in Burlington, Vermont, for example, our students go to college at the University of Vermont, Champlain College, or the Community College of Vermont. We also have locations in Madison, Wisconsin, and Eugene, Oregon, but I'll just kind of focus on Burlington for right now. And if folks are interested in learning more, we can chat offline about the different locations that we offer. So who our students are at Mansfield Hall are two parts. So students live with us. They live in our dorms. They work with an academic director, a director of student life, a life skills coach, and an academic coach. So students have 4 one-on-one weekly meetings in addition to just access to an inclusive, kind, welcoming, nourishing community. And then they walk out of our dorms and they are a college student on the college campus of whichever they choose. So all of our students are college students. All of our students are taking college classes, and all of our students need that additional wraparound support in the dorm environment. So it's really like softer landing, longer runway to college, but in a traditional college setting. So student profile, just because I know Christopher might ask me, is 2 parts. The first part is diagnostically. It's a bell curve. About 65% of our students would probably most closely identify with ASD1. Maybe they formerly had an Asperger's diagnosis, but probably now an ASD1 diagnosis. About 10% of our students may have an ASD1 diagnosis, but may have traits of ASD2. And about 25 to 30% of our students are not on the spectrum at all. And common diagnoses may be ADHD, nonverbal learning disabilities, social communication disorder, but really we're focusing on executive functioning support. So they're living in our environment where we're giving them executive functioning support, academic support, and they're accessing a full-blown community of up to 50 students living in a centralized dorm model, centralized meaning one building. Second part, which is like what I care about, are, you know, who our students are when they're sitting in our cafe space or hanging out in our community spaces. So number 1, we are looking for nice, kind students, period. Nice, kind individuals. That's really who we're looking for. During a tour, it's my favorite part because like I'm really just looking to see if an individual is nice. And that's my favorite part of the job. 2 is college capable. So we do not go with students to the college classroom. Students have to independently be able to navigate that 2 to 4 hour college campus experience. And then they come back to the dorm environment where they have full wraparound engagement support. 3 is quirky or quirky compatible. So you don't have to be quirky to come to Mansfield Hall, but you got to be cool with quirky. Again, back to that nice, kind, inclusive part. We're also inclusive of all quirky and all folks. Number 4 is a willingness to partner in the coaching model. As you can imagine, we are doing a lot of prompting and reminders and encouragement and check-ins and collaborative problem solving and helping our students build and scaffold skills while they are actively living college and taking college classes and living in a college dorm. And so that willingness to partner and engage in our model is really important. And then number 5 is community oriented. So we're a really great spot for a student who is interested in college, whether they're certainly college bound and want a bachelor's degree, or maybe they're college curious. Maybe they want to take a productive gap year where they get to build some collegiate skills, build some social skills, be a part of a community where they get to engage in a different way than they have in high school. And also we're looking, we're a place for students who are still growing and building on independent living life skills, med management, time management, morning routines, and social engagement. So we're a super dorm if you're to take anything away. That's what I got, Christopher. Anything else I can answer right now?
We're going to come back to you in a minute. You covered a lot of information there, and you beat me to a couple of questions.
Cool.
I'm going to ask you the same question though. Let's just say at your Vermont site, what is kind of the breakdown geographically of students that are involved in your Vermont site?
Yeah, so we're fortunate enough of having 3 locations across the country, which is really cool. That said, I would say probably 75% of our students are from along the East Coast, spanning from Vermont to Florida. And then the 30% that come from outside of the East Coast, a lot of them are coming for specific collegiate programs. For example, Champlain College has a pretty epic game design program and a pretty cool programming, graphic design program. So sometimes we'll have students from outside of the East Coast that are interested in specific programs at the colleges that we offer. But because we have locations in Eugene, Oregon and Madison, Wisconsin, we do see a small shift in geographic, like our West Coasters might stick to Oregon, our East Coasters sticking to Vermont. But that said, it's definitely a range. We've got a ton of folks from Connecticut, but we also have a ton of folks from DC, New York City, North Carolina, definitely Boston, Massachusetts. So it's a pretty wide range.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're gonna go to the wonderful city of Cambridge, Massachusetts. Colin Brady is representing the Threshold program at Lesley University. And Colin, I have to tell you that, and I maybe I have my facts a little bit wrong here or mistaken, but Threshold is one of the longest standing creative type programs that I'm talking about. I could remember going back to my early years in this work that Threshold has been around and has stayed through the time over these past 30 plus years. And I'm sure you'll speak to that a bit, but I want to welcome you, and we are anxious to hear all about Lesley University and the Threshold program.
Great. Thanks so much for having me tonight. And my name's Colin Brady. I'm the Director of Admissions for the Threshold program at Lesley. And Chris, you nailed it. It's our 42nd year of our program. So it is one of the oldest ones, which is great. And that's just a belief in the program from the university, from the top down, as well as the greater community of Cambridge, has really allowed it to be super successful. So our program at Threshold is a 2-year non-degree seeking program that ends in a certificate. So what that certificate could be in is really dependent on the level of internship and the type of internship that our students complete. So I'll get into that a little bit longer, but depending on the path that the students choose, they're going to be receiving a certificate in that area. And given 42 years, those certificates certainly hold a little weight in the area, in the region. So it's because of its longevity. So our program, as I mentioned, is 2 years. There are some options for after 2 years. Students could stay for what we call a bridge year. A bridge year, just for our interpretations right now, is essentially a 3rd year of the program. It's for those students that need another year of maturation, another years of developing strategies and growing. So that's an option for the students. And then we also have an option for a transition year. And a transition year is where students have taken the next step out of our program and are living in the Boston, Cambridge area on their own and are employed. And then they have once a week, they have their transition coordinator into their off-campus apartment, to that next scaffolded level of independence. Are you paying your bills? How's it going with your roommate? How's the commute going to work? Things of that nature. So very scaffolded in growth. So it can be longer than a 2-year stay, but our 2-year core program is really what I want to focus on for the next couple of minutes. Everything that we do in the Threshold program is focused towards independence and career readiness. About 87% of our students go on to have employment that they report back that they enjoy. We do have some students that leave our program and then decide that they're ready to tackle perhaps an undergraduate degree. So that's certainly not off the table, but that tends to be the progression. So everything we're doing is focused on independence and career readiness. And those are really divvied up into 4 pillars. So it's independent living, internships, academic classes, and social emotional growth. So independence, our students are living in 2 dormitories as a cohort on Leslie campus. They have the freedom, as I say, no one's waking you up or putting you to bed. If you want to go get a slice of pizza in Harvard Square on Tuesday night, you absolutely have that ability to do it. But we have a graduate level student that's on duty at all times from 5 p.m. to 7 a.m., 7 days a week. They possess a duty phone, so the students can text that. We ask students to say, if you are going off campus, please let the duty phone know, and when you return, as well as you can text the duty phone to anything from maybe a roommate disagreement to the dryer's not working. Anything in between. The students have access to those folks, which is a really great part of independence. Our students are completely immersed in the Leslie University community, eating in the dining halls. They have access to any club, activity, excursion that the university is offering. That being said, we offer a threshold only activity every night and on the weekends. And what we typically see is students in concentric circles, starting with a threshold activity, then the Leslie University, and then Cambridge as a greater thing. So it's a great progression to see. And of course, every student's really going to be on their own pace of that. But we have students that have gotten key roles in the theater, on the choir, in the choir, on the dance team. We've gotten NCAA permission, so we have students on the golf team and the tennis team as well. So students are fully active members of the Leslie community, which is where you're going to see a lot of that organic social emotional growth, right? Academic classes. So again, this is the other part of the program where students are particularly in their cohort. So they're taking 5 to 6 classes a semester, really again, focused on the independence and career readiness. So classes like financial literacy, digital literacy. Voices from the Field is a guest speaker series from recent alums or neurodiverse employers coming in, talking about what they're looking for, experiences. And these are all classes that are taught by Threshold specific faculty. So this is their full-time job. And why I find that to be important is that they're understanding each student's profile, the goals of the programs, kind of seeing the bigger picture. We talk a lot about you got to trust the process. And so, understanding there's going to be ups and downs and just being able to work through each student like that. So that's a real benefit to our students. We also, of course, have internships as a huge pillar of our program. We follow the university schedule, so we're 4 semesters. Our students will complete an internship in 3 of the 4 of those semesters. The very first semester they arrive, they're working towards figuring out what their internship could be, taking into factors areas of interest, partnerships that we have, as well as how you're going to get there. Our students need to be able to get to their internship themselves. So we do a lot of community navigation. That's another class, and training on that. So the lead up to the internship is putting a ton of work to put the students in the best position to be successful. This is truly where our geography is to our blessing. Cambridge offers tons of opportunity, a great mentality of the city, a great inclusiveness to it. So we have eager and willing partners that we work with to educate them about neurodiverse learners, about what we're trying to accomplish, but as well as putting our students in situations that are going to help them learn. If we walk them through it, that doesn't always to their benefit, but so it's great to be in that area. So students will return from that holiday break to start their second semester and kick off their internships. We'll have anything from students that are working on campus, could be in the admissions office and athletics, to taking the T into downtown Boston and on Make-A-Wish. So it's really going to be on an individual level like that. And then the internships continue. Oftentimes our students may try out another internship, but if they love it, they may stay. And it's just upping the amount of time per week each semester and the amount of responsibilities. As everybody knows that's presenting, it's all about scaffolding and presenting the next opportunity and then reflecting upon it. And then there's a social emotional growth pillar that I think is so important. And those are really, there's a concrete path and an organic path that really work parallel in that. The organic is every student has a staff mentor that they meet mandatory once a week for an hour. work on goal setting, perspective taking. It's really the student's time, zoom out to 10,000 feet. If it's a tougher week, they can, schedule some more time. And then in addition to that, we have counseling interns on campus. So Leslie University has the largest graduate school in New England for counseling and education. So we have counseling interns that are in their last semester getting the work experience to gain their licensure for Massachusetts. And so they're half an hour a week working with students, and they're all overseen by our clinician on staff. So it's really a win-win-win situation for everybody. And it's a really great thing. And those are the concrete kind of things where, again, you're working on the goal setting and keeping staff in the loop. And then there's the organic part of just being away from home and doing it, going to the dining hall, going to the involvement fair, getting to class on time. That stuff's, it's hard to tell how or why or when, but it just kind of happens by doing it. And so those are the 4 pillars and where we see a ton of growth. Post our program, we have a vibrant alumni community. I think 2 reasons why many of our alums over the 40 plus years have stayed in the area is, one, it's a major city, so lots of opportunity for jobs and such. But also, I do think the connection to the Leslie alum is pretty great. We have 2 events a month, get anywhere as 50 people at these events. A group just returned from a European trip in October. And so that's a really great way to stay connected. So you can make an appointment with our alumni coordinator to get a resume updated, to get whatever it may be. And then the last piece I just want to say is we just launched the lifelong learning program last October. What that is, I don't know if I'm doing it choppy or not, but is we recognize the need for support as students, former students, and people in the community get older. So adult support is so vital in this field. So we're up to 37. We're calling them clients. And so some are alums of the program, and then some are just in the community. And recognizing that you're springboarding out of Threshold and programs like Threshold with a ton of momentum and a ton of confidence. But what happens after 8 years when you're looking for a change in a job or understanding your rights and responsibilities as a Massachusetts resident? Massachusetts, I'm sure Connecticut's similar, has tons of resources for neurodiverse adults. But that in turn makes it very complicated to navigate, a lot of red tape. So helping them with what they can use from the state level, changing of job career, just leveling up. And so we're really excited about that program, just to provide consistent support throughout the lifelong. So as I like to say, if you do come to our program, you kind of stuck with us for a long time, but people seem to enjoy that. And we are currently in our admissions season. We enroll 24 students a year. That's we can't go much more than that, just because we don't want to lose the ability to deliver what we can deliver. So we have rolling admissions, and we're kind of in the piece of that right now.
Colin, thank you. Very informative, and we will come back to you as well. So we are going to move on. Mary, thank you for being so patient. You're batting clean up here today, but please, take your time. We're going to hear about the college internship program, your various sites around the country, and you are obviously the national enrollment specialist. So Mary, please, college internship program.
Thank you, Christopher. So, and thank you for reminding me to mention that we are in 5 different locations around the country. I particularly represent Berkshire, but we also have locations in Florida, in Indiana, Bloomington, Indiana, Long Beach, California, and Berkeley, California. We started in 1984, so we're a little bit younger than Threshold, and we started in the Berkshires. So that's our sort of the mothership. CIP is so I would say we're comprehensive. Okay, so a lot of our programs are comprehensive that we've heard about tonight. CIP starts really, I think, with independent living. So a huge feature of our program is that our students don't actually live in dorms. They live in supported apartments in which life skills staff are in and out throughout the course of the day, coaching students through their activities of daily living. Now, our students all have to have kitchen safety. They have to know how to prepare a couple of key go-to meals. I say prepare, not cook, because they don't all really cook so well. They really love the microwave, the air fryer, but they have a few go-to meals that they can prepare. They could do their own laundry. They have basic safety. There is no overnight supervision in the apartments. We also have on-call staff overnight. So students have to be at a certain level of independence and community safety and awareness to come to CIP in the first place. But the coaches will walk them through that. So, and the supports for the students in independent life skills are really particular to the student themselves. So for example, all of our students have an evening check-in, right? Our life skills staff go through and they make sure everyone's sort of like, set for the evening kind of. We do have a curfew. But as someone else on the call said, if students want to stay out past curfew, they can do it. It's fine. Just let the life skills staff know that you're going to be out late. So the life skills staff kind of checks in the evening, and then if students need morning check-ins, they can have morning check-ins. It's not universal. If students need if they need sessions about coaching through cooking, cleaning, laundry, that kind of thing, they will have those supports. I'll say the most universal support that all of our students get typically is menu planning and grocery shopping and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of parents, when I tell them they're responsible for all their own meals, parents are like, what? But it's amazing what our life skills coaches do with the students in terms of having them plan and carry that out. So that's the independent living piece. Then students come to the center, which is about a block and a half away from where all the different houses are. And they do a series of classes in social skills, executive function. They do some life skills classes as well. And then they take some overview classes in careers and academics. And I'll get to that a little bit later. So they're having actual learning in those areas, and they're also being coached in those areas. So for social skills, for example, we follow the peers curriculum and we do the young adult curriculum, but then the students are also practicing that the day-to-day, and they're also being coached in that. So we sort of have these different learning models. We have classes, CIP classes, we have coaching, one-on-one, and we have small group work. And so the students are getting supports in these areas. So they're learning and they're getting supported in these areas. They each have an advisor who is really the sort of the executive function hub on their wheel, works with the students on managing their budget, making sure their medications are refilled. We don't distribute medications or anything, but we want to make sure our students are independent in terms of getting their prescriptions refilled and keeping on top of those sorts of things. So that's the advisor works with students on that, works on keeping their calendar, works on something we call the person-centered plan, which is kind of like our version of an IEP, where the students set their goals and track their goals with the assistance of their advisor. The other individual one-on-one support person is a therapist. Our students see a CIP therapist every other week, and then they have the option for group therapy in between if they want. So they're doing all this, and it's about 30 hours of staff support a week. And they're also going to college or they're pursuing a career. So the college students we have college academic coaches. And again, they're mostly like executive function coaches. We don't really tutor because the college has that. We just make sure the students are getting to the tutoring center or wherever they need to go to access their accommodations and whatever resources that the college has. Our academic coordinator is usually up on campus twice a week with the students, assisting them if they need it in navigating, but also having her one-on-one coaching with the students. So if they're going to college, they're doing that. They take a range of classes. They do have sometimes a really long runway. Sometimes our students are taking 2 classes. Sometimes they're taking 3 classes, but they're not generally taking a full course load. They can, but they're certainly when they come to CIP, they're really not ready for that yet. In terms of if they're on a career track, they are doing a similar sort of thing, only they're having internships, and they have job coaches with them on site. There are individual internships. There are sometimes group internships. And often our students find, and our career and academic department work very closely together, I should say. And often our students kind of figure out, or we help them figure out, that they may be on a career path, but they're gonna need an academic credential of some kind. be it a certificate, be it an associate's degree, or even a 4-year degree. So we have students that go between the academic and career track, and some who are even kind of on a dual track. When we see a dual track student, they're usually taking like one college class because they really don't have time for much more than one. And then they're doing internships and working on the career curriculum as well at CIP. So it's, it's not college based. Most of our students go to, at the Berkshire Center, most of our students attend Berkshire Community College, which is in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. We provide transportation to all the program activities, including the college and including internships and everything else. We also have a focus, I just want to mention, on health and wellness and creative arts. So we have a very strong creative arts program, creative arts coordinator. The students do an annual musical. They have a glee club. They do talent shows. They do open mics. So that's a strong component. It's not mandatory for the students to participate in that. And then the other piece that's maybe a little different is that we run from mid-August until mid-July. And the returning students don't come until late August, but the typical first year student starts in mid-August. We have a 2-week orientation for new students, and then they wrap up in the middle of July. But we do follow a college calendar. So we have a winter break, we have a spring break, and we have a week off in May as well. So it's 43 weeks of programming. And I usually say like that's almost 3 semesters worth of work, because the college semester is usually 15 weeks or so. So our students range in age 18 to 26. They come particularly from the Northeast, but also other places. And I can answer any questions you have. I feel like I'm running a little low on time. So I can tell you more about our student profile if you think that would be helpful.
We will get to that. We will get to that. And this is all wonderful, and it's tremendous information, and you've all been just outstanding in presenting. But I do want to save some time for question and answers. So my targeted questions, I'm going to keep to a minimum. But I am going to ask a couple. I think you've all done a great job of kind of talking about your programs and some of the uniqueness about each of your programs. So I'm going to skip that question. But I am going to ask a question to Brianna, Stephanie, and Paul. So you're the first ones up. My question to you as a targeted question is, what can a student be doing right now while in high school to best prepare for your program? So Brianna, I'm going to put you, you're first up. What can a student be doing right now in their high school years to prepare for your program or any post-secondary creative type program for a neurodiverse learner?
That's a great question. What we recommend students practice is taking the responsibility of doing the tasks to plan their day, such as things like filling their own calendar, identifying things they like to do in their downtime, taking their own meds, making sure they're waking up on their own with an alarm, or finding some way to independently do that. Think about living independently and all of those pieces that go in it, and where parents are currently, or family members are currently supporting a lot, and try and fade some of those things back. I think navigation also falls in there too, but those are the big things that we talk to families and students about all the time.
Thank you. Great answer. Stephanie, how about for Mansfield Hall?
Yeah, I would say, I definitely think what Brianna had to share would be helpful. And in addition to that, I think for getting accommodations, having the proper documentation, whether that's an updated neuropsych or an IEP or 504, we typically recommend that students have their testing updated in the past 2 to 3 years. So thinking about that as a junior, accommodations, things like extended time on tests, preferential seating, a note taker in the classroom, excused absences, all of those accommodations are going to come from the documentation that a student has. I also think just having conversations with parents, counselors, therapists about what are the supports that you are receiving now as a student. Are you managing your own medications? What support is your history teacher giving you? What does the resource classroom offer you in high school? Because a lot of times I talk to high school students who don't have the full awareness of all the supports that they are getting in high school. And then the realistic jump of, okay, now I'm in college and actually I'm getting none of that. And so just building that self-awareness of what it is that a student is getting for themselves in high school. And then when you go on tours to all these amazing 6 places, asking the questions, like, okay, I know I use this support now, so I'm going to ask all 6 places, what is it going to look like to get help with this support that I know I'm getting? So I would say documentation, and also just kind of broadening self-awareness around kind of what this jump is going to be like and what realistically are the supports the student is getting now.
Okay, thank you. Paul? You're muted.
You'd think in 2024 I'd have that figured out by
No,
now.
we still do this from time to time.
Sorry about that. Those were great suggestions. What I would add to that list is if your child has not had a job or a volunteer opportunity, I would encourage, if you're looking at the V United Scholars Program, because the career piece is so big and the internship piece is so big. A student who has experience kind of working with a supervisor or kind of having tasks to do, that's usually a great experience. In addition to that, something that might be really beneficial if you haven't done so already is maybe think about a camp, like a week-long stay away camp, or if your child has ever stayed away from home for an extended period of time, whether that be at a camp or maybe they vacation with a friend or something. We find that that is helpful for students when they move into the dorms, that they've already had some experience away from the family.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, so my next targeted question is going to be pointed to our St. Joseph's University representatives, as well as Mary up at College Internship and Colin over at Threshold. My question to you, and we have a lot of parents on this call, how can parents assist in preparing their student for your program, or in particular post-secondary education for a neurodiverse learner? So either Allie or Caitlin, you want to take that first, please?
Sure. Yeah, I just put a resource in the chat that I highly recommend for families and students. This is very new. This was just published a couple weeks ago in collaboration with the College Autism Network. So if you're not familiar with the College Autism Network, it's a professional organization for professionals who do this work. They also have a great software to find all of the college and university programs that support individuals with autism. So, but the workbook is great. I highly recommend it. It goes through prompts to allow families and their students to have facilitated conversations about how to best prepare and provide some really great suggestions. So my suggestion is to start this early, right? You don't want to be having this conversation, August 20th when you move in on August 22nd. You want to be really assessing where these skills are early, so that way you can build the skills that are needed way before you really need them.
Caitlin?
I would say the 2 big things that I would recommend to parents. The first thing is giving your students opportunities to self-advocate for themselves. So like leading their IEP meeting. If they have questions, helping them email the teacher themselves instead of the parent sending the email. So giving them opportunities to develop those skills when they might need it in college. And the other one, the students on the call won't be happy for me to say this, but asking to give them homework. I am always surprised with the amount of students that come to college and have never had experience with homework. And that's the first thing we tell them is you will have homework here, you will have essays to write. And so we always tell people that are applying to our program, ask for homework.
I'm sure they're not happy with that answer, but a very good one. Thank you. Mary, how about for college internship? How can parents best help or assist their student with preparing for your program or any other program?
Yeah, I think one possibility, and this might go against the grain of what everyone's saying here, but I think it's really important to consider to be realistic about expectations. I mean, we have a lot of students that come to CIP and or families and young adults who think college is only going to look one way, right? It's going to be, I go off to college like my neurotypical older brother, and I just go and I live on campus and I do the things, that they do. And I think beginning to have that conversation amongst yourselves as parents, and also with your young adults, that college might look really different for you, right? And to kind of prepare for the sort of alternatives that we all kind of represent here, because none of this is traditional four-year college the way maybe I went to college, right? So I think there's introducing that concept that, yes, and one way to do it might be to sort of, someone mentioned sort of being able to speak up in like an IEP meeting or something, but to really start having a conversation about what that IEP means, right? To see if you can dig into that with your young adult or child at this point, I guess, as to what does it mean that I have an IEP? What does that mean about me, right? Because we also have young adults who come to CIP and they know they're visual learners, right? Like we all said, this is, they know they're visual learners because they've been told they're visual learners, or they're feeling whatever, hands-on learners. They know that, but begin to start seeing if you can have those conversations of self-reflection in terms of, well, what does that actually mean? So that it means, yes, I learn better with pictures, but what does that mean if you actually have a job? As someone suggested, getting an internship or having a job, what does that actually mean? Like, so maybe the tie-in to this, some of this self-reflection is beginning to include more conversations about the IEP in practical terms with your young adult, and seeing and helping break that down for them. And then the other piece I would say is, social skills, right? And there's no magic bullet for social skills, I would say, but social skills, I think coaching, there's some very good programs out there. And I like to say, that in high school, there's a lot of structures for having company, but there's not a lot of instruction on how to really make friends, the way that all these programs are going to really teach kids to really make lasting, meaningful relationships, I think. So there's sort of relationships. And so our students have some, they've been in school, but when they leave home, when they leave high school, that structure goes away. So the more I think you can kind of coach your students around figuring, understanding social relationships and the importance of social relationships, because this is my punchline is always like, having friends is not an elective in life, right? It just isn't. The data is there that shows that everyone needs friends and peers to be successful in job or school. So I guess I don't know if that's helpful at all, but that's what I would do.
Very helpful. Very helpful. Colin, I'm going to have you back clean up here. Can you talk a little bit about how parents can assist for students?
Yeah. So just reiterate, obviously, continue to support your students in their emerging self-advocacy, emerging independence, understanding of what their path may be is always the great support for the parents to provide. But speaking from a parent perspective, because it's also a big change for the parent that's upcoming as well. And, first and foremost, there's no perfect program that exists out there for you. There are excellent ones. There's just not one that's going to be like, that's the perfect thing. There's going to be ups and downs. So when you're assessing these programs and you're assessing your student of where their level of readiness is at and what this program can provide, having these conversations with the folks you see on the screen and the directors, the vibe you get when you go for a visit is as important. Getting into college is often the easiest part. It's staying and being successful and being happy and being fulfilled. So learning about each program outside of just what's on their perfect website, I think is very much important, because I think everyone would agree on this call that programs are people. And those are the ones that are going to be working with your son and daughter. So I think that perspective from a parent is really, really important, because don't discount the change that you also are going through as a parent too.
Great point. Great point. Okay, we have about 5 or 6 minutes left, and I really want to open it up to our audience. If you have specific questions for any one of our panelists or all of them, I'd like to try to make this as brief as possible, just in case we have several questions. I already see one question that's been answered in the chat about types of programs that students can access in terms of social skills. And Allie, I really appreciate you're providing information and a website at UCLA for that. But parents, staff members, any questions? Now's the time. You can just unmute and ask, or put it in the chat, whatever's easiest for you.
Christopher, I know that just like in efforts of UDL, Universal Design for Learning, if we wanted to send some visuals or documentation to the folks on this group as a way, because I know that it's been a lot of information to digest, is there a way that we can send just like a follow-up of whatever information would be helpful so folks can digest it in a different way?
Sure, you can send that to me.
Okay, and you could forward it out.
And I will forward it out and make it available as part of the recording. This is being recorded, and I will make that information available as best I can, Stephanie.
Perfect, thanks.
Questions? I know one question that I've been asked several times, and I do get asked in sessions with families, safety. Safety, whether on a college campus, whether you're in a super dorm, whether you're in Cambridge, whether you're in Syracuse. How do you safeguard? How do you make sure that your students and your clientele are safe in these environments? I'll open that up to anyone.
I'll add it.
Yeah.
I'll just add in there. Oh, sorry, Colin.
Go ahead.
I think just talking about and working on situational awareness is really helpful. So, no matter where you are, just being aware of, who's around you and where your items are is really helpful. We see students really, struggling with that at first. It's just knowing kind of where they are in relation to others and how to keep their stuff safe and, knowing resources, public safety, things like that.
Colin?
Yeah, I just echo more of that. That's part of our community navigation programming when the students first arrive, understanding the resources. It is Cambridge. It is a very relatively safe city, but it is an urban environment. So take that into account even on the level of readiness. But we provide supports and have a great campus safety program, and our students feel genuinely safe on campus.
Brianna, how about at Syracuse? It's a rather large university. In terms of safety, how do you help to safeguard in looking after some of your students in an inclusive view?
That's a great question. And a lot of what was said, we work with our students on situational awareness, personal awareness, and safety. We also, as part of our orientation, our students get to know our Department of Public Safety. Staff talk to them about the blue light system on campus, where they can go if they need help, whether it's the Title IX office or our Office of Community Standards. A lot of going to college is a risk for any college student. So weighing those risks and ensuring that your student has the awareness and the understanding about going to college and what they need to do to protect themselves, whether it's out in the community, when forming new relationships. We also talk to families about talking to students about sex and personal health and all of those big topics, because even if you think your student won't do it, they're going to be exposed to it in some way. So having those conversations preemptively is always the most important thing that we talk about.
Okay, great. Thank you. Now I have one more question, and I'm going to start with Paul. He can answer. And again, parents, if you have any other questions, we got about 2 or 3 more minutes, and I'll open it up to you. But one more question, and I'm going to open it up to everyone. But Paul, I would like you to answer first. Is your program eligible for federal financial aid?
It's available for. There's a specific name for it. Students can apply for a FAFSA. It's a comprehensive transition it's an approved we are approved comprehensive transition and post-secondary program. So students can receive funding from the federal Pell Grant. Sorry, I'm just reading from our slides. Federal Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant and Federal Work Study. And the students complete a FAFSA to determine that eligibility.
Okay, thank you.
We
Stephanie,
encourage our students to work hard.
okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Nope, I was just gonna say we're a PA waiver
Stephanie.
approved program.
Okay, thank you. Stephanie, how about at Mansfield?
Yeah, so thank you. So because we're not the college or the institution, we aren't eligible for FAFSA, but a lot of families and students may pay for Mansfield Hall through 529 or 529A account. And then also on our website, we have an array of different scholarships and grants that can be applied that our Mansfield Hall is eligible for.
Thank you. How about our folks down at St. Joseph's?
For us, for the PACE program, we are a comprehensive transition program, so our students can do the FAFSA. And while every state does it differently in terms of state funding, we have Pennsylvania and New Jersey students using vocational rehabilitation funds as well as Medicaid waiver funds. So if we have anybody from Connecticut that is interested in applying, we're more than happy to have that conversation of whether or not that's something we can look into.
And for Aspire, this for degree seeking, it's just the regular university. So yeah, for our program, you can add it into your estimated cost of attendance, which you can use, loans and financial aid for. We're also an approved provider through PA Vocational Rehabilitation, which we have also had some luck applying with people applying from out of state in PA for VR. So
Okay. How about Inclusive U at Syracuse, Brianna?
Yes, we are a comprehensive transition program, so federal financial aid can be applied. Our New York State students do use the Medicaid waiver. I have spoken to some families from Connecticut interested in using the Connecticut waiver in New York. So I have had some conversations with the Connecticut system. So we're definitely interested in figuring out how that works. We've had students use VR funding and many other things, like some students have had years left in school, so they've worked out with their school districts to pay for a certain portion of our program for a determined amount of years as well.
Okay, thank you. And what about college internship program, Mary?
Okay, thanks. So yeah, no FAFSA for us. We're not a school and we're not approved by the state. However, about 25% of our students have been able to secure school district funding for their students to continue their transition after high school at the college internship program, the details of which I will handle individually at some point if you're interested. So again, 25% are about our school district funded. We recently got a big boost from the Massachusetts DDS program. So I know this is Connecticut, but Massachusetts DDS is starting to fund Massachusetts families for CIP. The 529 is another resource that our families use quite a lot. And then I think the last one is we have our own scholarship. It's diversity and ethnic diversity and economic disadvantage scholarship it's a $19,000 a year for 2 or 3 years, depending on how long the student is in our program scholarship. So we provide that as well.
And I think again, in my experience, that's been one of the major changes in the last number of years, is the funding sources and resources that are available for programs such as yours. Whereas maybe 20 years ago, Colin, at Threshold, there may not have been as many funding sources and federal support for comprehensive transition programs. So that is wonderful to hear. And maybe a reason why so many more of your type of programs are developing around the country. Yes, Mary.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, as a sort of a, I don't know, like as an asterisk, as a like a pep talk, our centers in California are actually fully funded by California public funding. There's something in California called the Regional Center Program, and so the students who go to our centers in California, they have to pay for housing, which is expensive in California. So it's still expensive, but the tuition is covered by the state of California if the family is in the regional center program. And the reason why I say this is because what I've seen, I've been at CIP for 5 years, and I've seen the number of students, like I said, who are on school district funding, for example, and they're from different states, not just Massachusetts. Massachusetts, New York, Connecticut, New Jersey are the ones that have funded CIP. When I first came here, we had one student, and their family had to go through the absolute whole rigmarole of like massive lawsuit and all of that kind of thing. And what I've seen in the last 5 years is a little bit of a loosening up around those kind of funding things. And I think for me, I see it in it's because parents advocacy, because parents are saying it's not enough for our kids to get out of high school and not really be prepared for life or college or career. So I just, so I just encourage families to always ask. It might sound lame to say that, but it's true. I think the more families ask, the more public funds are going to have to, they're going to have to go. This is the direction our world is going. So that's all. Just wanted to throw that
No,
in.
I think that's a great point, which brings me to a wonderful conclusion. And what you just said, Mary, is part of the reason why I thought to bring this panel together tonight. This has been a different panel than what I've done over the last 10 to 15 years. And it has been excellent, extremely informative. And I just want to thank each and every one of our presenters for taking some time out on a, Wednesday night. And I really appreciate it. We've had about anywhere upwards of 45 to 50 participants that have attended tonight. We have recorded the presentation, and I'm sure I am going to get a lot of requests for people to view the recording. You've all been excellent, wonderful, awesome. Your programs sound great. I love the fact that there's a lot of similarities, but there are also some differences. And that is something important to recognize. And the last thing I want to say as an old transition counselor, it is great to hear that the pillars of your program pretty closely match what the federal law requires in terms of, post-secondary education, employment, independent living skills, social, emotional. And I heard that throughout all your presentations. So that is wonderful to hear. So I'm going to close at this point. We ran a little over, and I'm sorry. I'll put in some overtime for everyone. So, when you get your check in the mail, you have a little bit more in there. But I really appreciate it. Thank you. I will be in touch with each of you. I've kind of spoken to some of you already, and we will continue to do that. But I want to thank the Greenwich High School School Counseling Department and our district special education and student support office for supporting this program tonight. Thank you, parents. Thank you, staff members on, and most importantly, thank you, presenters. You're doing excellent work out there, and I hope we have some people that'll reach out to you with potential interest for their son or daughter. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Take care. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye, everyone.